Everyone, it's an early interview today. I'm going to be interviewing author Amy Impellizzeri about her newest book called The Truth About Thea. And I am so excited to be talking with her, which is why I woke up really, really early to get makeup and hair and, dressed and everything. And I was just like, whenever you want to do this interview, I want to do this. I want to talk. So, crazy book. I mean, I read the reviews halfway through because I wanted to see what other people were saying, and I'm really happy that people agreed with me, okay? So I just have to talk to her about this book. So here is Amy. Hi everyone. Today I am so excited to be speaking with author Amy Impellizzeri, and I'm so happy I said that right because I've been practicing. And her newest book is called The Truth About Thea. This book, Amy.
Oh.
Thank you. I forgot to ask you if you had a physical copy because I have it on my Kindle. So I am going to show everybody this cover because this book is just... I've heard about, people were talking about it on Instagram and all my book reviewers that tell me about books, and they were like, you have to read this book. And here's the picture.
Yeah.
And there'll be a picture up on the screen. Everybody will get to see it. But they were not kidding. Everybody that's like, this book is crazy. You won't be able to sit down. And I was carrying my Kindle around yesterday. It really is. And some authors don't like to hear that everybody's reading their book in less than 24 hours. But I don't think anybody is putting this book down. So you're going to have to deal with that.
Thank you so much. That's a great compliment. I don't mind hearing that. I know it is several years of my life's work finished in 24 hours, but that's all right. That's what it's meant to do. So
that's right. I know. I said that to an author one time, and they were like, "Do you know how long that took me to write?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, I couldn't put it down." And that's how us readers are. It's like I can't even imagine putting this book down and going back in a week. You'd be like, "Where am I? I can't."
It's a tangled web. You wanna sort through it. I think in relatively short amount of time. Yeah.
Right. And okay, so Thea, and everybody says this, when they give you this book reviews, and I'm sure you've read them, people are like, I don't know what to say.
People have been so good because I was so worried. It's so hard. You put the book out there. You want people to review it. You want people to tell people about it, but then you really don't want them to tell people about it because it's the kind of book. And see, I'm a person who I do not like to read very, in-depth reviews or synopses of books. I want to be surprised by the book. And I don't really like movie trailers. I really like to be surprised. And this is a book I think best left that you just come into it fresh and let yourself be surprised by it.
Yeah, and I usually read the reviews after the book.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
But this one, halfway through, because I know what the book reviewers were telling me, right? But halfway through, I went on Goodreads, and I'm like, I just have to see if anybody is thinking what I'm thinking right now.
Right.
And then
I like when people do that. They'll post in the middle of read, I'm this far into the book, and I think this is what's going on, or they'll message me and say, I'm sure I know what's going on, and then I always say, I'm not going to say a word, but you'll just see what happens.
Yeah, and I was talking to an author yesterday. We were talking about this exact thing. I don't want to be so far out in left field at the end that it didn't make sense.
Right.
Which I think as an author, that's really difficult. There's that fine line is you want to shock everyone, but you also don't want to make them mad in thinking I could have never figured that out.
You are 100% right. That is the delicate balance because there are some small, kind of subtle clues as you're going along the story that could have told you what was going on, and yet I really didn't want you to figure it out. So it was a very delicate, let me plant this so when you finish you go, okay, but I don't want you to figure this out till the end because it would ruin it, yeah.
Amy, I just want you to know that as soon as I have a minute, I am rereading at least 3/4 of this book. Okay?
Oh, I love that. It's a different book at the end. It becomes a different book at the end.
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
definitely
going to
reread
last night, and 3 of the women told me that they read it twice this week before book club because it was a totally different book, yeah.
Right, and so her book, I always like to pick quotes, but for your book, it was the very first sentence, if Audrey Brown had survived. Okay, right then I was like, okay, so wait, so Audrey isn't alive. Okay.
Right.
Plant that little seed. Audrey is
Right.
not alive in my head, which I
is
thought
the first time I ever killed off a character in the first sentence
was
of the book.
Was it? I know, because I was like, okay, this is only the prologue, and I got to remember that this woman is already dead as I'm reading it, So I know
and
you wanted me to know that.
Actually, a lot of people forget it. So a lot of people tell me, like, all of a sudden they're in the middle of the book, and then they go, "Oh, I just remembered Audrey's dead." Okay.
Right. And I was thinking, you put that in the prologue for a reason, so that we would remember as we're reading that she's.
Yeah.
But I love the way you went back and forth. It didn't confuse me. I liked it.
Oh, good.
I did. I really enjoy it, because I like books like that. But if they go back too much, I get a little confused. But I wasn't confused. The timeline didn't confuse me. But, okay, so Thea. It's like, we'll just talk about this in, like, circles. Thea is the main character, sort of. The main character. And she is, I just want to talk about this because I think it's funny. She's addicted to social media.
Right.
And, we were just talking about social media, and I really hate social media, but I think the reason I hate it is because it is addicting. Because if I get on social media, I'm not going to read today. Like, if I start, like, going down that hole of, oh, who's posting that, and then who's that, and then who's that, and then I start going, on Instagram, Facebook are big ones that you just start, so
Agreed.
I think that, and having children, and my son who's 18, and he can hear me because he's here, but, like, he walks around, Twitter is their big thing.
Yes.
And I think about, like, I wonder what he would do if I took his phone away for a day. Like, would he be like, oh my God, things are happening on Twitter that I don't know about,
Right.
So I think
Snapchat is a big thing with my son. And he's 14, and so the biggest threat I can give him is that I'll take his phone away for a full 24 hours, which means he'll lose all his streaks. And that is like the biggest, that is like an instant behavior modification tool, because the horror of being off social media for 24 hours is more than he can bear.
And you know what? I don't get Snapchat.
I don't either.
But you're right. I'm thinking Twitter, but I do think it's now that you said that, I'm like, you know what? I think it is Snapchat. I think that Snapchat's a thing because it's a constant, and then it disappears, and then it's this, like, anyway.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it either. It's not meant for us to get. It feels like a secret thing that teenagers invented to trick us all, I think.
That's right. And I remember my oldest son is 30. And he was, like, in the MySpace, which was this very, very beginning of,
Yes. I remember that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very cool to me. And she owns a company called Alibi.
Yeah.
Which we can talk about a little bit. But, that people come. I mean, I thought it was fascinating because I was like, wow, I never thought about that. You could, like, totally change your identity by changing your social media.
Right. And the thing that Alibis does, which is, I'm sure somebody knows how to do this, but it's not really done. So this is a made up thing.
Right.
The thing that Alibis does that seems so simple but so sinister is that it's sort of digital time travel. So it allows her to create these personas for people and post for them in times and places in the past or in the future where they are not. And so it's like virtual time travel. And it allows her to really create these robust social media identities for people and give them alibis. So the story opens with her on trial for sort of an alibi that went wrong because she had sort of a client who was involved in a high-profile crime.
Yeah,
so,
and I was, like, scared when I read that because I'm like, that's possible? Of course it's possible.
Of course it's possible, yeah. Somebody knows how to do that, for sure.
Right. Yeah. Somebody knows. I mean, I know just from when you text, you can delete, parts of a text. Like, if you were to take a picture of a text, well, I know that people can, like, delete parts and make the conversation look completely different.
Yes.
That's, like, the most sinister thing I had heard.
Yeah, me too. I know. That may have been the little nugget, because I'd heard of people doing that, and actually that may have been the little nugget that fed this idea. Like, what would be a way that she could manipulate social media that would make it a value that her company had, and yet something that would sort of be understandable to everybody.
Right, and now that, even our iPhones, it's like you can stamp a location, you can stamp, and to think that you can, like, manipulate that stamp, it's like, Oh,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But, just to find out, so, as we go into the identity theft and then the story just takes twists and twists and twists. But like I
Yes.
said to you, I loved the ending. I loved the ending. I really did.
Thank you.
It
Thank
kind
you.
of
This
just
is a
made you.
story that came to me, as all three of my novels so far have come to me as the ending. So this was a story that I knew the ending. I knew it in very detail and then worked backwards. So I always sort of knew how this was going to end, but then the sort of middle part unraveled itself to me as I was writing it.
Did you have to keep like outlines of every? How did you do that with every character?
Yeah, I typically do not plot my story out methodically. I typically don't have very detailed notes because I do like the story to unravel, but this was definitely my most ambitious plot. And so I did have a lot of notes and charts and timelines. The timeline was so challenging for me in this book and had to be fixed and adjusted constantly as I was writing it. So the timeline was a really big thing for me, and I kept that visually as I was writing and plotting points on the graph of what was happening when, so I could keep it straight. Yeah.
Yeah. What I loved about the timeline is like usually when you read books, it's like they'll go back years and switch kind of back and forth. But this was like some of them were hours, some of them were months, some of them were, and then you're like, okay, reverse, okay, wait, okay, But I thought it was fun. I thought that part was really fun. Because I'd never read anything like that. I was like, that is really a cool way to go about it,
Thank you.
But it also makes for how, because then you find out different things and you're like, whoa, wait a second. Okay.
Yeah, because the bulk of the story is taking place during her 90 days in rehab, and it's sort of, we're following it day 1, day 14, but that is not the timeline of the story. So that was really kind of to trick you into this sort of false, security that you're dealing with 90 days when in reality you're really dealing with a couple of years timeline and a lot of back and forth. Yeah.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that you're doing book clubs because this is a book club book. And then to get the author to come. Yeah, it's a really fun book to read with other people, and then to get you to come on, and then they can ask you those questions that I can't ask you,
right?
That you really want to dive into. So I'm really happy that you're doing those because I love my book club people, and they are active. They are alive and active people on Instagram and everywhere, and they help me find people. They're like, you gotta find this book.
I know, I love book clubs. I know, I was just in a book club last night, and I do a lot of book clubs, and I love when I get to book club and they have like their list of books they've been reading, because then they give me ideas. I always leave them with a bunch of ideas of books to read. But yeah, when you get there, you're in this sort of closed circle where everyone has finished the book, even if it's a book club that doesn't always read the book, they read the book because I'm coming, right? So they read the book, and we can talk about the ending, and we can talk about what they thought it was going to happen in the middle and how wrong they were, and so it's fabulous because nobody has confessed to me that they figured out how this book ends, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. I didn't want anyone. I can remember at times. You've read the book, so you can laugh at this. I can remember at times writing the book, thinking, I hope this isn't too obvious. I hope this isn't too obvious. And so when I finally handed it in, I was, my publisher was like, not obvious. So the right amount of not obvious. So that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially with social media, it's like they get out there, and I always tell authors like do the book clubs because they will go out and tell people. And
oh my goodness, they're the best. Book clubs are the best. And I've had book clubs. I do a lot of I Skype book clubs. I do book clubs all over the country.
Right.
So I Skype into book clubs, but if they're reasonably usually within an hour and a half, I will travel, especially right around lunchtime. I love book clubs because that's exactly right. They are the best word of mouth, and I still think that my first novel was published in 2014, Lemongrass Hope, and I still enjoyed, sort of, I really, nobody. It was my first foray into publishing, and that book really was embraced and welcomed and kind of launched my publishing career. And I am certain that it was book clubs because they really had this like crazy word of mouth marketing for that book, and that was how I got my name out and the name of that book out. So Lemongrass Hope. So I love book clubs. So I really never turn book clubs down when they reach out, and I try to go to a lot, but I end up having to Skype many more. But it's a wonderful way to to experience the book. It really is.
It really is. And I've always thought about doing like a virtual book club because,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like get people from everywhere to talk, you know, so that they could talk about it. But
You
I
can
went
say
to
in
a
your
book club.
pajamas.
Yeah, I went to a book club one time and I was the only person who read the book. I never
Yeah,
went
that
back.
happens. That
I was like,
happens,
what a
and it
stupid
doesn't
book
happen
club.
for me when I go to book clubs.
Right.
But I hear from a lot of book clubs. The thing is, book clubs are so vibrant and they're a force. I mean, there's
Yep.
I go to book clubs where people are in multiple book clubs.
Yep.
But I do hear from people, oh, I was in such and such book club and it fizzled, it dissolved because people stopped reading the book. And so there's this sort of delicate balance because the book becomes like a vehicle to discuss a lot of other things that are going on in your life. And a lot of book clubs have been meeting for 10, 15 years, or they've traveled with each other through all sorts of life events, right? But the book really is supposed to be sort of the vehicle that lets you talk about that stuff. So when it becomes completely irrelevant, then I find that book clubs, they don't really last. But so many book clubs I go to have been doing this for 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. So it's fabulous.
I know, it's awesome. But yeah, this is not your first book, and you know,
Right.
so this is your third
This is,
novel.
yes. My third novel, my fourth book, because I do have a nonfiction book.
Yes, which I want to hear about only because
Yeah.
we were talking before. Amy was a lawyer. I was a legal secretary. So when I saw that Lawyer Interrupted, I just had to laugh because I worked with so many lawyers. It was funny because I didn't get to go to law school, right? So I did the closest thing. I was a legal
Right.
secretary. And
Yeah.
I had, especially when I worked in DC, I had a lot of women that were the same age as me, but they had clerked, and here they were in this big law firm, and I used to be like,
Yes.
oh, I always wanted to be you. And they're like, no, you don't want to be me. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Some of them still are practicing, but some of them are not. And I was like, what inspired this book for you?
Yeah, so I was a corporate litigator for over 13 years, and I left in 2009 for what was supposed to be a 1-year sabbatical, and obviously I'm still on it. So it just was it was time for me to start thinking about transitioning. But the thing was, I had never wanted to be anything but a lawyer. I was always going to be a lawyer, and so the transition was sort of it was very sudden, and I mean it was intentional on my part. And yet, I really, before I left the law, I really had given no thought to what I would do if I left the law. I didn't leave to write a novel. I had always been a writer. I'd always been a creative writer, but I had definitely tabled that part of me while I was practicing law. And so when I started my sabbatical and when I sort of rediscovered my own voice and started, I was writing a novel on the side of work with a startup company. I was working for a startup company that was really working with women entrepreneurs and helping market them and tell their stories. So it was totally different. It wasn't legal work. In fact, what I was doing was sort of acting as the translator between the legal team and the creative team, because neither side could talk to each other. And the creative team was always saying to me, the legal team is always telling us no. Can you find a way to explain to them what we want to do that will help them not say no? And that's really what my job became. And so I started to realize that there was this whole world open to me that was open because my legal training was so valuable and sort of made me qualified to do a lot of other things other than practice law. And that was something I had not given any thought to before I left the law. And so I was out in the world. I was writing about my sabbatical in law journals, and I was talking to transitioning lawyers. And so the American Bar Association reached out and asked me to write this book, Lawyer Interrupted, about leaving the law. And so a lot of people laugh, why did the Bar Association contact you to write a book about leaving the law? But what the book really is it's not disparaging at all about the legal field. It's really about the versatility of the law degree. And so it's really a celebration of that. And it's not a memoir. It's really a synthesis of research and interviews with a lot of transitioning lawyers who are doing fabulously interesting things that are not practicing law. And just sort of, and 50% of practicing lawyers want to stop practicing. So it really fills a need that the bar. I was really thrilled that the ABA recognized was needed. And actually, I do a lot of speaking gigs to Bar Association committees and annual bar conferences and lawyers in transition committees. It's opened a whole avenue for me, and it's just so funny to be spend so much time with lawyers again. But it's really fun because it really has demonstrated to me what a need it was, and so many like me want to leave the practice, but are really struggling with, well, what is it that I'm now qualified to do? So that's what that book is all about. But yeah, that came about in the middle of me really pursuing my fiction career. So it was really fortuitous.
Yeah, well, first of all, lawyers make great writers. I mean,
Yeah,
it's an easy
lawyers are
transition.
professional writers. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
But
especially
they don't necessarily make great fiction writers because they have to. I mean, they have the potential to do
right,
so.
right.
But they have to kind of retrain, like I did, have to retrain their writing process. So it's been really fun to talk to lawyers and sort of help them work through that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do find that once I write fiction, their
Yeah.
stories are really tight because they know how to write tight. Because when you're writing briefs and everything all the time, you can't have fluff. There's like no such thing as like,
Yeah.
oh, this paragraph means absolutely nothing. I'm just going to stick it in there for no good reason.
Yeah, and this book, The Truth About Thea, is probably the most I've written like a lawyer since I started writing fiction, because it really, I think that really informed. This was like writing a brief, like making sure everything fit, make sure everything flows, right. Make sure I can convince you that this happened and that this should happen. So it really, this was definitely a book that's kind of full circle. Write like a lawyer book, I think. Yeah.
Right. And organization comes easy. Like all those skills that you use
Yes.
as a lawyer come very easy transition into the writing life, I think. And like I said,
I think so too. And it's funny because I always struggled with that when I was starting out, or as I was working on my process. I would hear about writers using Scrivener and using all these fancy programs, and I don't write like that. And so I was always thinking to myself, what am I doing wrong? How am I, I should be trying to figure out how to use those. And then I heard Kristen Hanna talk, and she doesn't use them either. And her process, and she's a former lawyer turned writer, and her process is so similar to mine that I thought, no, this is the way lawyers write. We keep it organized in a different way. And
yes.
So there's something to be said for the legal training that actually helps you organize the way a story unfolds. So yeah, I think that's my process too. Yeah.
Right. Well, we were talking before that you're part of Tall Poppies.
Yeah.
I love you guys so much.
Thank you. I love them too.
They are so much fun. You guys all stick together and you help each other write, and I think it's such a great community because I've talked to a lot of you, and when you're like down, all you do is have to reach out to somebody, or if you're stuck, it was such a great concept for women to get together and just support each other, not just on social media, but behind the scenes of writing and out, media, publicity, agents, all that stuff. What a great concept. I loved it.
I assure you there, and you know this, there were never any Tall Poppy lawyers. so this has been this has been quite a find for me.
No.
And it's a wonderful concept of empowered and empowering women. Anne Garvin is the one that started it all, and she's like our den mother. We just love her, and it's a really fabulous group of women, and it's just, I feel like it's a really great, especially with the way the industry has changed so much, even since I've been in it, which is not that long, and just how it's evolving and changing, and we're all trying to kind of find our way in it. But we really do represent sort of a cross-section of the publishing industry. So, we are self-published and traditionally published and indie published, and a lot of us have had careers that have been a hybrid of a variety of things. And so there's a wealth of experience and trial and error and just information that we have and that we share, because it's an industry where people are always afraid to share information.
Right.
There's a real fear of transparency, and that we've kind of gotten past, that we just ignore, and we are transparent with each other. So it's really fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always felt like you realize that readers like us, we're not just going to read a book a year.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Like that's just not real life. We read all the time,
right?
And so,
and there was always a fear with a lot of, and we support all women writers, and we really try to like raise up other writers, and so, but there was always this fear that, well, I can't send you to another writer, you'll stop reading my books. It's just so silly. We market each other, and so it's not really, when you stop looking at it as a competitive field and really sort of look at it in terms of that can sort of raise us all up, then it
Yes.
changes the whole dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I see you guys on, Facebook and Instagram, and you'll be like supporting each other's books and getting them in the mail, like unveiling each other's books in the
Yes.
mail,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we're
so
fans of each
excited.
other.
Yeah.
We're so excited when new books. We were just talking about Camille's new book that just came out, Women Last Seen in Her 30s. Like, I just got a copy of that book. I can't wait to read it. So it just came out this week, and we're fans of each other. So it's genuine, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's a very exciting group.
Yeah, and I think it makes you all better, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
I think it. Especially with the. I mean, what I'm thinking is like this is like called a psychological thriller. This genre of All About Thea, But the historical fiction, like you guys write everything, and then it's I feel like it makes you guys all better writers in your genres. And I thought of this as they put that, but then there's this like new genre on Amazon, which I love when Amazon does that, and it's like family thriller or something. I don't know.
Oh, domestic thriller.
Domestic thriller.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I love domestic thriller. Now this can be a domestic thriller because it is involving a family. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It's also Amazon also called it a techno thriller since it involves technology. So who knew that was a thing?
I don't know. It's pretty funny. Like I love reading, and because my daughter's always on top of what Amazon's doing, just so that she can do the social media part. But she'll say to me like, "Was that really a crime book?" I'm like, "No, it wasn't a crime." But so who knows how you get books into their genres? But
right, yeah, it is very tricky. Yeah,
but the domestic thing, I was like, well, this should be listed under domestic, even though
that's
that they had
interesting.
psychological.
Very interesting. Yeah. I like it.
I know. So I just want to show everybody this cover because did you have anything to do with this cover? Like this girl?
Just that I loved it.
I mean, I'm trying to get it on the camera. Here we go.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with the cover. My publisher does all my covers, and she's a graphic artist by background too, so she's fabulous with the covers. And she sent that to me, and I was just in love with it. That was the first concept that she sent me, which is not always the case, right? So I was really lucky. And then she said, and if you don't love this one, here are like 100 other, like women that we could change up the, and I'm scrolling through all these other women, and I was like, no, it's that one. She's like, I went through them all, and this is the one I chose, and I really think this is the right cover, and so yeah, I love that cover.
Yeah, when I was reading it, I kept going back to the cover because I was getting my image of Thea in my head.
Yeah,
and I was like,
Thea for me for sure. And
it's
good because I often, like for my second book, Secrets of Worry Dolls, I had photographs of the characters. I had sort of like pulled just from online. I had just pulled pictures of the people in my mind, and I worked with that as I was writing the book. But I hadn't done that for Thea, so I didn't really have. I had a very loose. She was sort of ethereal, and she was sort of. I didn't really have her firmly cemented in my mind. So when I saw that cover, I was like, "That is her." Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it shows up on here, but people will see it on the screen too. Is like on the background, you can see like computer. Images, code. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see coding, and you can even see it in the lettering too, which I didn't notice before until I was sitting here looking. I'm like, oh, it's even in the lettering, and I don't know, there's just something about that color, that bright yellow fluorescent color, and So anyway, I love this. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I love that cover. I know it was It was the first concept she sent me, and she did a little tweaking after we decided that was the one. To make sure all of the coding was in the letters and everything, did a little tweaking of that, but yeah, that was it. That was a home run from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, everyone, thank you. It was so much fun, Amy. I can't tell you. This book is crazy. I can't wait to get this out there because I want everybody to read this book. This is
thank you so much.
It came out in October. Do you know when paperback's going to be out?
Paperback?
Yeah.
Oh, it's out. Yeah,
it is out in paperback.
Actually, this book is in the reverse because paperback is out. It's available Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
And now it's actually being released this month in hardcover library editions. So it's like the reverse.
I see other people doing that too. Like we're so used to hardback and then paperback, but I do see
it's really for library purposes, but it will be available to anyone. So it's available now in paperback, and then probably later this month it will be available more widely in library hardcover edition. So yeah.
Well, thank you. I can't wait to. Oh, you do have a next book coming out. I saw you are writing.
I am working on it. It does not have a new date yet. So
okay.
Stay tuned. Keep an eye on my Facebook page and my website for more information about my next book.
Well, you can always, let me know. And then
I will for sure. I will for sure.
Have a great day, Amy.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It was so much fun talking to Amy. Oh my God, I am so happy I read this book. You have no idea. I cannot stress enough for everybody who loves thrillers, you have to read this book. It is completely different than anything you've ever read before. Trust me on that, okay? I'm going to have all of Amy's links listed underneath here. If you liked watching Amy and I, please hit like. If you'd like to get updates on all my videos, please hit subscribe. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Bye.